Press the start recording button. Right, now, when you open Logic for the first time, it defaults into opening whatever you've been working on previously. Now, as it happens, what I'm working on at the moment is a big mix which is on one of these other hard drives, so it'll probably open something that I last did based on the Mac itself. But if it does that to you, right, somebody else has been using Logic and you sit down and use it and their arrangement opens, just close that and you want to open an empty project. Let's get it started. When you start with Logic, of course you're doing your first tutorial next week and it'll be in the AV room over there with Alex. Of course, just to remind you, you've got to look at your timetables. Make sure you know when your tutorial slot is. But it will be as if it's your own personal copy of Logic because everybody has their own login. I know you haven't got them yet, but everybody will have their own login. So when you first open Logic for the first time, it should offer to open you an empty project, a new project. Yes?
Is there any benefit to using your own Logic, or is that going to be more difficult?
Is there any benefit to you using your own Logic? In what?
So if I brought my laptop in, or is it best to work on the computer here?
You are welcome to bring your own laptop in if you like. You won't be able to connect up the USB mixers to it, or you might be able to. You'd have to have the drivers for it though. It's better to work there and then use a memory stick to take it home. Have you got Logic 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, then it'll work. Yeah.
I have a question. About the updates.
Yes?
You only buy the program once, right?
You buy the program once, the updates are free until they do a major update. At the moment it's Logic Pro 9. When it goes to 10, if it ever does, then that will be extra cost. It won't be full cost if you've already got Logic 9. Logic 9 has already had numerous minor updates, they bug fixes and the like. They always do those, and those are always free. And in fact, on Apple machines, as long as you've got software update turned on, they come automatically, and you've just got to say yes to them, and it all happens while you're working on it in the background. Okay. So I'm not aware that Logic 10 is about to come out at the moment. I could be wrong about that. Anybody going to correct me about that? No? Okay. So we'll just turn that off for a minute. And as I said, right, it's opened something that I was working on. It's a bit of investigation I'm doing at the moment as to the effect of compression in reducing the sense of depth in a recording. That's another story for another time. Let's close this. So if this happens to you then, don't just cross the window out. Right, for those of you who are not used to Apple Macs, crossing out the window, you know how you do it in Windows, there's a cross on the right hand side. You cross it out and the program disappears. Okay? On Macs, if you cross the windows out, and the crosses on Macs are over here on the left hand side, the window disappears but the program carries on running. On an Apple Mac, it's worth learning a few keystrokes. Okay, so if you want to know what programs are running on your Apple Mac, you press the Command or Apple key, right? You look at the keyboard, one of them has got CMD and a little squirrely thing that's supposed to look like an apple. It doesn't actually look like an apple at all, but there you go. But if you press that and then press the Tab button, right, which is the left-hand side of the keyboard, it then shows you the programs which are running. So at the moment I've got Logic running, I've got QuickTime running, making a recording of this. Finder is your operating system, that's always running, you can't turn that off. Well, you do turn it off when you shut the computer down. And I've got my MIDI audio settings running at the moment, which I guess I should check really. I think, in fact, I just have, just to make sure that I'm definitely using the microphone. Come here, there we go. Oh, in fact, I need to just turn that window on. Show the audio window. Okay. Yes, it's inputting on the microphone, which is great, so it means it's recording my voice, and the output is the Benchmark, which is the device I've got down here that feeds these loudspeakers. I'll just switch that off for now. Okay. Right, I'm going to get rid of this, and you do it by going File, Close Project. Okay, do I want to save it? No. Okay. So I'm going to go File, New. Just thinking about it. Here we go. And you get presented with the choice of new projects. Ignore guitar, tones, instruments. Let's go for an empty project. Start with nothing. Best way to learn it. Okay. If you load these kind of templates, there's loads of stuff appears and you haven't got a clue what it is if you've never seen it before. So click on empty project, and this is what you get presented with. Okay. What Logic wants you to do straight away is create a track of some sort. You're all aware that music is put together by recording multiple tracks with different instruments and so on them, effects and whatnot. Okay? What Logic's saying is, right, you want to do some music, better create a track to put some music in. So we'll do that, and I'm actually going to start with a software instrument, because the software instruments are the easiest way to get started making a noise straight away. Okay? So I'm going to create that. You'll see there are two other options, just before we move off this. An audio track, well, unsurprisingly, that's where you can record straightforward audio with a microphone. Obviously, we need something to plug the microphone into, well, there is a little port on the side of my Mac, but I haven't got a proper interface here for one at the moment. Okay? External MIDI, we'll get to that. That's where Logic can send information to real synthesizers, hardware synthesizers, real samplers, or indeed another program on the computer to make it play. Okay, and I'm going to be showing you how to use external MIDI to make Reason play. I think a lot of people would have seen Reason because it's fairly cheap, and lots of bedroom boys use it for making dubstep tunes. Dreadful dubstep tunes mostly, because Reason doesn't sound nice on its own. So we'll be looking at that, and we'll be looking at another package called Ableton Live as well, which you can also sequence from Logic. But we're going to do the simple stuff first, so I'm going to create this. Okay? Now what you see when you click Create is over here on the left-hand side, a track has appeared. Let's just look at this whole window first of all to see what it actually means. Okay? Across the top here is what they refer to as a ruler, but you can think of that as a timeline. Okay? And if I start this playing, you'll see just down the bottom here, there's a set of transport controls. Now, a few years ago when I started teaching Logic and Cubase and other sequences, everybody knew what those meant because everybody had seen a cassette recorder but these days, transport controls don't generally sit on the outside of machines. They're either on remotes or they're based in software. But so very simply, that's stop there. Okay, there are little information balloons that come up that tell you what each button does. Play, pause, record, forwards, fast forwards, fast rewind, and this is go to the beginning and that's go to the end. Okay, really simple buttons. So if I press play, okay, I can press play here, look, by pointing the mouse at the play button and clicking on it, or I can use the space bar. Okay. As we go through learning Logic, I will, a little bit at a time, tell you how to do things with the keyboard rather than the mouse, because at the end of the day, when you want to work fast, key codes are much quicker than fiddling around looking through windows for dialogues with the mouse pointer. But there we go, so play, stop, play, stop. All right? Yes, hello. You can ask any silly question you like. This is the default background. You can select different backgrounds in Logic. Don't ask me where at the moment because I've never really bothered with it. Yeah, no, yeah, it just looks different, but it's the same. What version of Logic have you got? You've got what do you mean you think you've got 9? How can you think you've got 9? Surely you know, having paid all that money for it. Okay, right. We'll ask no further questions. Okay, now of course you can hear nothing. Why? Well, there's nothing in the arrangement. This whole window is the main central window in Logic, and it's called the Arrange window, because this is where you record things, you can chop things up and arrange them, they can be audio recordings, they can be parts that play notes on instruments, there's all sorts of things it can do, and you can arrange them, put them together. It's the Arrange window. Okay? There are some parameters that you need to know about, which are right down here. Most particularly important is this one here, which I've just double-clicked on, which is the tempo in beats per minute. It always defaults to 120 beats per minute, but you can change it to whatever you like. 120 beats per minute is about old-fashioned disco pace. Saturday Night Fever, that's all about 120 beats per minute. Okay? If you want to do hip-hop, you'd probably be working at around 90 to 100 beats per minute. If you want to do drum and bass, that might be over 150, perhaps even 180, depends. Okay? So it all depends on what you're trying to do. If you're just recording a band, you don't really need to worry about this, unless you're going to start chopping things up into blocks, in which case you'll have to establish what tempo they're playing at. In fact, you can actually guide their tempo. If you just look to the right here, right, when you're recording, there is a metronome. And hopefully this will actually... Have I got this turned up? No, you don't have to. It'll play. It actually is playing. I just need to... right, okay. I'll go back to this because this is making sure that Logic's addressing the right audio interface. I haven't showed you that bit yet. So we'll come back to that. Let's turn that off for now. Let's look at the tempo first of all. I'll leave it at 120 beats per minute, but of course I could make it anything I want. All right, I'm old, so I like slow beats, because I can't do fast beats anymore. I fall over and look ridiculous frequently anyway. So anyway, okay. Yes, let's have a look at making sure that Logic is first of all listening to the right inputs and going to the right outputs. I'll show you where the inputs and outputs are in the software first of all, but let's make sure Logic's addressing the right devices. What you need to do is go up here to where it says Logic Pro, click on there, go to Preferences, and then Audio, right? And we're looking for the output device. Here we are, look, this is the device that the sound is going out through. This is the device that the sound is coming in through. Now I don't want any input at the moment because I'm not going to do any audio. The audio I'm doing is actually being recorded in QuickTime at the moment. Okay, but I do want some output, and it says aggregate device there. Now an aggregate device is actually where you put two or more sound cards together so that you've got more and more inputs and outputs. This is saying aggregate device because I've got two big interfaces at home which are strapped together to make a 16-channel system. So it's looking for that. Of course, it's not there. So what you do is to click this drop down here and find the device that you want the sound to go out through. If you're using the computer on its own, you select built-in output, okay? Which, of course, means that you can use Logic without anything else, just your laptop. Okay, I haven't even got a keyboard connected to this at the moment. You can actually do things in Logic just with a computer. We're not going to use that though, because I want the sound to come out of the speakers in the lecture theatre, and the device that's connected to those is called the Benchmark 1. So I'm going to click on that, okay? Whilst I'm here, all right, don't worry about the input-output buffer size unless you find that you've got an arrangement where Logic keeps coughing or stopping or glitching. If it does, you increase the buffer size. I've actually got mine on maximum at the moment because I was recording a very large number of channels in one go not so very long ago and mixing them, okay? Software monitoring, just down here, leave the universal track mode, right? Look, we may come back to that, but it's not terribly important. 24-bit recording, we work at 24-bit, folks, okay? And I'll tell you another time what is the difference between 16-bit, 24-bit, 32-bit, 8-bit, 4-bit, etc. Right? These are different resolutions of sound. Essentially, all you need to know now is the higher the number of bits, the greater the resolution, okay? And therefore, the better the sound quality. And we work as engineers at 24-bit because we need to work at high resolution because we're mixing different sounds together with different effects, and then the whole thing gets boiled down to 16 bits when it gets mixed down and put onto a CD. Okay, CDs are 16-bit, that's their standard. All right, we'll come back to that, but in the meantime, when you're in this dialogue here, make sure 24-bit recording is engaged, okay? Otherwise, it'll default to 16-bit, and the sound quality of your mix with all the effects and everything won't be as good as it could be. Okay? Software monitoring. Software monitoring is where, when you're recording some sound, it'll actually come through the output in Logic whilst you're recording, so you can monitor the recording through Logic. Now, generally speaking, you only do that if you're recording with a laptop with nothing else there, because if you've got an audio interface, or even better, a mixer, you usually use that to do the monitoring. Okay? I default to having this switched off. Because of my system at home, there's actually a chance if I switch it on that sound will come out of Logic into my recording inputs, back out of the recording inputs into Logic. Do you know what that's called when that kind of thing happens? It's called feedback. That's right. It's called positive feedback, to be precise. And if it happens, you hear a loud squealing noise usually only for a few seconds until the coils in the tweeters of your loudspeakers have melted and you've got an expensive repair job on your hand. Okay? I default to keeping that switched off. Independent monitoring level, if you switch that on, it enables you to, because when you record things, right, the meters in Logic show your input. An independent monitoring level means that you can actually do that without enabling recording. I never use that. Okay, so I just keep that switched off. All right? So that's it. And when you're satisfied that you've done everything right, you can then apply changes. And when you apply changes, it should then, there we are, find everything that you should now be able to play back through the benchmark, and you should be able to hear it. Okie doke. Right, we're going to do the really simple things first, because the best thing about this kind of software is that you can get going straight away. Right? You don't have to have an expensive audio interface. You don't need a band in front of you. All you need is your laptop. You don't even need a little keyboard to play things in. All right? You can actually do everything using just the computer. And I'm going to start off by creating an instrument. Okay? Now then, let's just have a quick look at this. We've got this instrument track here, and you might have noticed that when I loaded that, these two faders appeared on the left-hand side. Now, these two faders are just part of the whole Logic mixer. If you look down here, look, you'll see that there's some tabs. All right? At the moment, we're on the Arrange window. If I click on Mixer, we then get a window open which shows you all the mixer strips which are currently in the Arrange window. And it shows you the output, however many you've got, and it shows you a master fader which can turn everything up and everything down all at the same time. Okay? So what we've got in the mixer at the moment is only one track, because I've only loaded one track on the Arrange window. What's in the mixer is what's on the Arrange window plus the output channel, right? So my instrument will play here, and it outputs, just have a look here at this box, right? If I click on it, you can say where you want your instrument when it plays to go out. I've only got one stereo output at the moment because I've just got the benchmark on. Okay? When I'm at home using my metric halos, I've got 16 of these showing, and I can select any one of those to output individual tracks to. Okay? Only got one here at the moment, so it's going to go to the stereo output. Where's the stereo output? Well, actually, it's this, look. It says stereo out on it, look. Right? That is the benchmark output. That's Logic going into my device here and coming out of the loudspeakers. Right, let's get some noise going. We'll close the mixer again for now, and we're going to load an instrument. This is the mixer strip for that instrument. And this button here, which you see with I/O written over it, input stroke output, that is the tab where you load instruments. If you press on this and hold, you get a big list of different instruments that come as part of Logic as standard. They include all sorts of things, various synthesizers that can make bass and pad and effects noises, sampler, which you can load with any sound that you like, a virtual electric piano, there's lots there, a beatbox, lots and lots of things. We're going to choose, to start with, let's choose the electric piano actually, because it's quite good fun. All right, EVP88 electric piano. Okay, click on where it says stereo and we get that open up. Okay, groovy. Okay, already we've got an instrument now. Now it's going to begin to get fun. Let's have a look at the instrument. There's a little open tab down here. It's got a cover on it, obviously to keep the dust off, software dust, obviously. Okay, so we'll open it, and you reveal all the controls. Now, probably the first thing you're thinking to yourself is, well, if that's an instrument, Where's the keys to make the notes? Of course, they're not there. This is just the interface that controls the sound the instrument makes. It doesn't control the notes. We're going to pop it into the corner there for a second, and we're going to put together a region on this track where we can put some notes in. At the moment, there's nowhere I can put any notes in because there's no region. If I had a keyboard connected, I could just play something in and click record and it will record it. Okay? I haven't got that. I'm going to show you first of all that even with just a computer you can get stuff going. I'm going to draw a region in. Now if you go up to the right hand side over here, right, and see these little buttons here, look, on the right, those are tools. At the moment we've got the mouse pointer out. If I click, right, then I get the entire list of tools out. That's the mouse pointer. This is a pencil for drawing things. We're going to be using that in a second. An eraser for rubbing things out. Text tool for writing things. Scissors for cutting bits in half. Glue for gluing them back together again. Pardon me. This is a solo tool. If you click on a part, only that part plays, all the others get muted. That's a mute tool. If you click on a part with that, it gets muted out, but all the others carry on playing. This is a zoom tool, which is especially useful when you've recorded audio and you want to do a bit of editing on waveforms, getting clicks and glitches out and so on. That magnifies the view. A fade tool, we'll get to that. That's for creating different kinds of fades and crossfades between different parts in Logic when you're doing a mix. Automation select tool, you won't be using that for a while unless you're already used to Logic, because that's for selecting the various parameters which you can automate, like the volume of an instrument, or its tone, or the effect, delays and reverbs on it. Automation curve tool, that's for drawing particular shapes of automation. A marquee tool, that's for selecting big fat chunks of your arrangement and being able to erase them all at once or move them all at once. And then a flex tool, that's something for making the timing of what you've done change so that it fits a particular pattern. Now, you're not going to use anything like all of those to start with. Just to point out, look, you'll see another box there. It's got exactly the same set of tools in it. That's actually, if you're using a 2-button mouse, you might all think that Apple Macs always have just 1-button mouses. Well, Apple Mouse is a 1-button mouse, but you can stick a normal PC 2-button mouse on a Mac and it will behave just like a PC. It'll have right-click menus and left-click menus. If you've got a 1-button mouse, to get to the right-click stuff on a Mac, use the control button. There we go, I'm right-clicking now, and I'm doing it by pressing the control button first and then clicking with the mouse button. I've only got this is a typical laptop with a touchpad and a single mouse button for a Mac. Okay, let's select the tool. Yes?
Can you put 2 buttons on a mouse pad?
On a mouse pad?
Yeah.
I think yes, you can actually. You can enable it in the system setting. I don't much like it because I'm used to a single button because I've used Macs for a long time. But yes, you can. There's all sorts of things you can do with the mouse pad. Actually, I can zoom the view in Logic Look by putting my just like you do on an iPhone. Put your 2 fingers on the touchpad and spread them apart. It'll zoom. Pull them back together again. It'll zoom out again. Yeah. There's lots of other things you can do as well. We'll get to those. We'll just do the basics for now. So what I want to do then is I want to draw, let's move this back again. I want to draw a region so I can put some notes in it. So I'm going to get the pencil out here. Okay. And I'm going to draw a region. So I'm going to go to the area where my track line is. Doesn't matter where I draw it. I'm going to start it at bar 5 here, look. I'm just going to draw 4 bars only. Okay, in fact, we'll just zoom in on that a little bit, and then I'm going to do this. Watch this, it's good, look, watch. See, I've drawn that stripe across there. All I did was click and pull. What colour is that stripe? I'm terribly colourblind. Is that green or pink?
Green.
It is green, okay. Green is a colour I really don't see. What I've done there is to draw a loop. Right, so that when I press play now, which I'm going to do with the space bar, as I pointed out to you before, you'll see, look, it starts playing at the beginning of the loop and keeps going round it. And this is a great way to build tunes. Lots of tunes these days are just built of loops, lots and lots of them. And in fact, that's sort of based on the fact that old-fashioned tunes, before looping machines, computers came along, loop stations and the like, actually most tunes have repetitive sections. And then I'll have other repetitive sections. But it's a great way of building a tune. So I'm going to leave that loop on. I'm going to stop it playing for a minute. And I'm going to get the mouse pointer back out from the toolbox. And I'm going to double click on this. Watch this. And you get this open at the bottom. Now this is a place where you can put and play some notes. Okay? There's a keyboard down here. If I press a key, awesome. Okay? So we now have sound coming out. See? We've only just opened it. We put one thing on the arrange window and straight away music's coming out. Great, isn't it? Okay? You don't need to be a great musician to use this. Don't need to be able to read music. All you need is ideas in your head. That's it. Okay? So let's put some notes in. Now we can put notes in. There's another toolbox appeared now. You have to be careful here because these toolboxes look more or less identical. But this is the toolbox for the MIDI note edit window. They've called it a piano roll window because it's a bit like those pianolas. You ever seen film of a piano that plays itself and it's got this cardboard roll that comes out? This is very much like that. So it's called a piano roll. But it's a place where you can edit the notes that you're going to want this instrument to play. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to get a pencil out. I'm going to draw some notes in. Here we go. Let's start here. Middle C. Let's see what that sounds like. Rubbish. Complete and utter rubbish. But the thing is, I've drawn some notes in. Okay? I might want them to play a little bit longer. If you just go to the end of a note look, you see this thing that looks like a sideways staple appear. Click and make it longer. I suppose that's slightly more convincing with that longer note in. Let's do something to one of this. Let's actually pull that one out. Well, if it's going to be even, this actually ought to play slightly sooner. Click on it, a little hand appears, pull it to a slightly different position so it plays earlier. See, you don't need any musical skill for this. Not playing a keyboard, not reading music. I'm just tidging around with boxes on an interface. Or I'm getting music out. Might not be very good music at the moment, but you see what I mean? How easy is this to use? I might want some of these notes to play louder than others. Because I've drawn them in, they're all playing at exactly the same volume. Okay? If I'd played them in with a normal MIDI keyboard, Logic would actually be able to tell how hard I'm hitting the keys. It's what's called the velocity, right? How hard I'm hitting the keys. So if I hit them hard, Logic will make a nice loud noise for its instrument. If I just touch it softly, it'll make a nice quiet note. But if I get it wrong, or as in this case, I just want to change these without using a keyboard, then down here, now this is very squirreled away, you have to look ever so carefully, but do you see this little box with lines on it, just here where I'm hovering the mouse? And it says the word hyperdraw. Click on that, and you get that interface open. And the level of these lines represents how loud these notes are. Okay? So I'm going to change those. I'm going to get the mouse pointer back out to do it. Okay? And that note that's selected there at the moment, let's make that considerably louder for a laugh. And let's make the first note, since it's the first beat on the bar, let's make that one louder. And this one's a sort of grace note, isn't it really? So we'll make that one quieter. Okay? So if I play this now, okay, that's a bit quiet. I can edit while it's playing, so I'm going to raise the volume of this note whilst it's playing. Now, even something that sounds rubbish like that can probably be made to sound relatively good if we add something else to it. At the moment, we've just got a few notes playing on an electric piano. We can, of course, change the sound of those notes. If I go back, you'll see that the piano, the thing with all the knobs on it that changes sound, seems to have disappeared, but that's all right. We can bring it back. Look, here where it says EVP88, just double click, back it comes, and let's do some stuff with it. Here we are. What controls have we got? Let's increase the drive. Let's make it a bit darker. Put a bit of a phaser on it. Give it a stereo phase. Give it some tremolo. Put the chorus effect on. Make it brighter again, it's a bit muddy now. Increase the bell effect in the sound, etc. Right? Obviously, eventually you might want to know what these parameters actually mean, but for the meantime, play with them. Okay, just play with them, because you surprise yourself with the kind of sounds that you can get out. That's using an emulation of a Suitcase Mark I electric piano. All right, there are various others. All right, so we'll just start playing. I'm going to take some of these effects off because you can add a load of effects and make it sound really horrible. So let's actually just take all the effects off for a moment that I added on. Turn the tremolo right down, turn the chorus right down. The phase is quite nice actually, I think I might leave that. Let's turn the drive down a bit. Cool. Let's try and make it a bit more exciting. And we're going to make it more exciting by adding another instrument. What do you recommend? Drums, exactly, yes. Let's get some drums in there, okay? So, what we're going to do is we'll just close this window for the moment, right? Where it says piano roll, it's highlighted. Click on it, it'll disappear. You're back to the arrange window. What we need is another track, okay? So it's going to have to be the last thing I do. It's coming up to 5/2, so, okay? So let's make another track. Now, just up here, look, there's some buttons, right? If you click on the plus button, right, then you get a chance to make a new track. And we want another software instrument track. So I'm going to create that. And this is now, let's look at the mixer now. See now there's 2 strips instead of 1 because I've created a new track. Let's put in something that can play some drums. I'm actually going to load the EXS24 sampler because it comes with a big pile of samples that you can use straight away, including drum samples. So I'm going to put it on stereo. There it is, look. I need to load these sounds in here, so I'm going to load them. Here we go. Just down here, look, all the various... let me finish this, guys. We've got about 2 minutes. I'm going to go to here, factory, drums and percussion. Let's get an electronic drum kit of one sort or another. Let's get the EXS 909 because it's got sounds in that you will recognise. Okay? Going to do what I did before now. Get a pencil out. Draw a part to put some drum hits in. There it is. Get the pointer tool back out. Double click. Up comes the window for the drums. Let's see what drum sounds we've got. Oh, awesome. Oh, yeah. Oh, ooh, yeah. Oh, there we go. The classic 909 sounds. These are actually samples from a Roland TR-909 drum machine. Awesome machine, used very, very widely in 90s dance music, now mostly just samples. But let's put some, while this is playing, you can put notes in while this is playing. Let's do this. Kick drum. It's made a long note, let's make it shorter. Let's put the snare shots in. one a bit quieter. Let's put some other kicks in. Okay, let's find some hi-hats. There. Those aren't hi-hats, but I can move them. Actually, that's quite cool, isn't it? Awesome! Let's keep going, this is great! Where's the pencil? There's no class waiting outside, so let's get it done, eh? Okay, hi-hats are on there. Where's the open hi-hat? Let's just find that. There it is, up there. Right, let's move that. And you're moving and grooving and making a tune and suddenly all awesome. See what I mean? Is this easy or what? Alright, and all I'm asking you to do is just play with it. You don't even have to have ideas in your head, because sometimes, just like what happened there with that sort of woodblock noise, I accidentally clicked on those thinking it was a hi-hat, but then I thought, oh, actually it sounds quite good, so I'll just leave them in there. Have a go, folks. I will look at this when I get home. If it's good enough, I'll put it on the VLE. So if you've never seen Logic before, you should look at it again. Okie doke. Don't forget to look up when your tutorial is next week. And I'll save this because we'll carry on working on it next week. I'll find a better bass line there, it's very boring. And I'll bring a little keyboard next week. Hey? Oh yeah, I know. You should play on here, but I'm not. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Oh yes. Just before you go, everyone, I shouldn't do this, of course. I should have done. This is the book I was recommending, which I went to get from my office. There it is. Look. Critical Listening for Audio Professionals. I do strongly recommend it. The bookshop hasn't got it. Look at Amazon. Okay. Okie doke. Thank you. Those two, they're both excellent. Really, really good. Where's this going to go? Here.
I've never worked in Logic before, but I used the what's that called? Sony Vegas.
Sony.
Yeah, it's more.
It'll be very similar. I've never used
the
it.
interface is very similar, like
Yeah.
the loop and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they're all very much the
Yeah, so I'm
same.
kind of related with some of the.
I mean, basically, you see, if you learn one sequence, you've learned all of them, but things are in different places, but they more or less all do the same thing.
Exactly.
So, you'll recognise things, you'll just see that they come from different places, that's all.
Yeah.
Workflow in some is better than others. Logic and Pro Tools are used most because the workflow in them is easy. Pro Tools is the easiest, the workflow is ever so easy in there. Cubase is dreadful, it piles windows one on top of another and you get lost and think you do things slowly. Ableton's awesome, but Ableton's a looping and stretching tool, really. Oh yeah, well we'll come to Ableton. I've yet to establish how many copies Nick's put on in the studios, but I do love Ableton. Yeah, I use it plugged into Logic actually. You can use Logic to sequence it.
Rewire it.
Yeah, rewire it. The only thing is it's heavy on processor, so if you do too much with Logic and Ableton together, then a laptop, even a Mac Pro like this, a MacBook Pro will fall over. Let me just stop the QuickTime recording, which I hope was, oh yeah, stop recording, there we go.